Hi, I'm Gayla. After 20 years of climbing the corporate ladder, I took the leap and started my own business to pursue my dream of creating a work-from-anywhere lifestyle. Having the freedom to work from practically anywhere is such a cool feeling. You're in the right place if you're looking for ideas and inspiration to start and grow your own online business. Every week in this podcast, you'll receive practical ideas, hints, tips, and tricks to help you grow your online business where you can leverage your time and you can accomplish more. You too can experience wonderful adventure and freedom as you live life on your own terms. Hi there and welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. If you're a subscriber, I want to say thank you. I very much appreciate it. And if you're new, I do appreciate you checking things out, and I'd love for you to consider subscribing. I've got planned a lot of great shows right into the future. This podcast has evolved over the years, and I think by producing it, I'm not going to lie to you. I've been challenged by it. I've been stretched, and I've grown in many ways. This podcast is mainly geared toward folks who are starting and growing an online business and value the freedom to work from practically anywhere. And your quote-unquote anywhere isn't necessarily the same as my idea of anywhere. I like adventure of my nomadic lifestyle by having overlanding adventures and exploring and camping in very remote places. But for you, sitting on a Florida beach may be your cup of tea. At any rate, over the years, I've come to realize that you are at various stages in your business. Perhaps you're at the stage of wishing you could quit your day job, and you're in that phase. Or maybe you're in the startup phase doing your online thing on the side and hoping that you can quit your day job. Or you may be in the ramp-up phase where you're getting traction and turning your online gig into a full-time thing. I even have seasoned and experienced business owners as listeners. So it's pretty cool that I have a wide variety of listeners. And again, I thank you for listening. So lately, thinking about all the different stages of business that we're all in, lately it's come to my attention how important the number 1 is. Actually, a more accurate depiction is that I'm reminded about how important the number 1 is. In a time where we're under so much pressure as online business owners to have the highest number of followers, a huge email list, tons and tons of subscribers, less emphasis is given on how important 1 truly is. Especially when you're just starting out and you're struggling just to make ends meet. We tend to compare ourselves with others whom we follow with their lists of thousands and hundreds of thousands of followers. And I get it. I play the comparison game sometimes too. But the bad thing about playing the comparison game, we tend to start to feel terrible about where we're at in our journey. And we shouldn't at all. Now, I'm not going to say that it's not important to work toward increasing your list, as you need to be introduced to new individuals because your list is your online business and it's valuable for its livelihood. However, you're in a spot where you're feeling a bit down because you don't have enough clients, or enough students, or enough paying customers, and are dwelling on all your numbers and that they're small. I want to remind you of the importance of 1. You should embrace 1. You should celebrate 1. Learn from 1. Grow from 1. When we focus on 1, growth happens. Opportunities come. I'm reminded of Gary Keller and Jay Papasan's book, The One Thing. In the book, they suggest that focusing on one task at a time in any given project will help you achieve your goals. I know that it's way easier said than done because let's face it, we as solopreneurs are like little butterflies. Our attention is all over the place. We want things done yesterday, and we chronically suffer from superhero syndrome. We think we can get things done in the speed of light, only to be frustrated at ourselves that we don't accomplish our mile-long to-do list in just a few hours. We are terribly hard on ourselves, and the expectations that we place on ourselves is huge. Now, for me, I continue trying the practice of the one thing principle taught in the book. And honestly, some days are better than others. Some months are better than others. But not only thinking and concentrating on one important task at a time to simplify a workload and move toward a goal, for me, over the years, I've come to realize the importance of one in another way. When I first started out, I was freaked out because I didn't have any clients. Absolutely zero on a list. In fact, I didn't realize back then the importance of an email list and how to even start one. If you know my story, I took the leap from the corporate world right into building my work from anywhere business. I didn't do the smart thing and start trying to build it to a point where I could leave my day job. Nope. Not at all. The company I was working for closed, and that's when I decided that instead of looking for another job, I was going to build something of my very own. I was starting at ground zero. For the first time after 20 years in a career in medical operations, I was no longer receiving a paycheck every 2 weeks. I'll be honest, I was freaked out. I decided that I needed to meet people. So my focus was one meeting. One. There was a local networking group that I joined that met weekly. I committed to doing that. I committed to that one meeting. I made the commitment to be devoted and to not miss. Now, being tied down geographically to attend a weekly face-to-face meeting isn't really the ideal work from anywhere scenario, is it? No, it didn't fit into my overall picture of what my work from anywhere lifestyle should be. However, this one weekly face-to-face networking group meeting was my stepping stone to starting and growing my online business. It didn't fit the exact mold that I had for the future, but it got my foot in the door. I committed to that one. I committed to one, which led to other opportunities of one. From this one meeting that I was committed to, I had the opportunity to meet many individuals. A wonderful thing. However, it's hard to truly get to know each and every one, and you can spread yourself very thin. And I didn't concentrate on quote unquote selling to all the people. But instead, I set out to get to know individuals, one individual at a time. And one individual who I got to know was the organizer and owner of that local networking group. I learned that the networking group had, after being a member for a short amount of time, but that networking group had 30 plus chapters and a few thousand members. I wanted to learn from the owner, this individual, to understand how he created such a following in the community. He didn't have an online business, and he didn't have a work from anywhere business. It was very much rooted in a community. However, he had a following, and I could learn from it. I wanted to genuinely get to know him, and I wasn't asking anything in return. Not too long after we met and after a few discussions, he told me of a challenge that he had. And the challenge that he had was sending a weekly email to members about community events. It was just a reminder about community events. To me, it seems like a simple thing. But he was struggling to do it all by himself because of his schedule. And he didn't want to mess with the tech piece because that wasn't his cup of tea either. He asked if that was something that I could help with. Well, yes, I could help with that. I accepted the job. Now, this was not for much pay, not at all. And this one weekly email certainly wasn't going to pay all of my bills, but that's okay. I continued to concentrate on that one weekly meeting, and now I was set out to concentrate on that one weekly email. Over time, by concentrating on one individual at a time, one task at a time, I grew as a person and my business grew. See, that one email that I was doing for that networking group, the whole networking group began to identify me with that weekly email, and I grew a following from that. Now, I have a friend of mine who's a bit down at the moment because he's basically starting over, or at least he feels that way. He's frustrated. He has no clients. He feels that no one on his list of contacts would even want to work with him. He's convinced himself that no one he knows wants to be coached. See, he's a coach. He's a business coach. And I disagree with him. He's an amazing person and has a ton of experience to offer. However, as we were talking, my take on this whole situation is that he's discouraged because he's not focusing on one and allowing that one to grow. Instead, he's focusing on none, not one. No clients is discouraging. I know. As I said earlier, I was there. And it is complete justification for being freaked out. But there's always one, somewhere, somehow, and that one is an opportunity. For him, he does have a contact. He does have a potential client. That, at least from my perspective, that client-coach relationship may not be exactly how he imagines. It may not fit the mold of his coaching packages that he's worked up. But I believe that we shouldn't see that potential client as a client at all. No. Instead, concentrate on getting to know him as a person and learn from him as a business owner and as a leader. Kind of step back. Take that onus off of, I don't necessarily want you as a client. That may be counterintuitive, but what may happen or may not happen, will be. But through genuine conversations and becoming friends with this so-called potential client, I believe something great would come out of the relationship. Something great, like maybe through the conversation, this person that my friend knows will express a problem that they're having, and my friend can offer the solution. Maybe the solution my friend can do, but it's outside of their normal package that they offer. Who knows? But my friend has the experience and may offer that solution. It could be up their alley. It gets his foot in the door and can bring some sort of revenue and some sort of testimonial of work. But something else, something great can happen, like this potential client of my friend may never take him up on his services because this so-called potential client believes he doesn't need them. How can you say, Gayla, that that's a great thing? Here's why. This is the great thing. Maybe that potential client refers my friend and introduces him to many other individuals. That creates opportunities in the future. Sometimes the people that we form relationships may never be our clients, may never spend any money, but we offer them help and solutions, and they are our biggest supporters and biggest referral. But sometimes something great can happen, like you learn ups and downs of what they're going through and challenges and wins from a fellow colleague. And you apply what you learn to growing your business. Now, what I know now that I didn't know when I first started my business was the importance of expressing myself through consistent content. I should have concentrated on one weekly piece of content for my business. Well, first of all, I didn't know what I didn't know back then. I didn't know that that's what I should have been doing because I didn't know how to run an online business 8 years ago. I just didn't. But I would have done some sort of weekly piece of content. And although it wasn't the first thing that I did, over time, after I started attending that one weekly networking meeting, I eventually concentrated on one weekly email for my contacts that I met through that networking meeting. The list was small, but I kept at it. I kind of called it for myself, or put it in perspective for myself, that I was scaling my communication. I was trying to nurture these one-time meetups to further and deepen the relationship. I know it worked out for me, concentrating on one weekly meeting, then one weekly email for that networking group, and one individual relationship at a time. But I did eventually evolve where I wanted my business model to be. It's taken time. It has grown that way and evolved. I don't attend that weekly meeting anymore because my business has evolved, but I still have some really strong relationships from where I started out. The one relationship, the one task, the one piece of consistent content, all these ones are like a little pebble that you toss into a still lake, that glass lake. That little pebble that you toss in makes ripples in the water, and those ripples expand. Don't underestimate the importance of one, especially when you're down. And certainly don't underestimate the importance of each relationship you form. Appreciate and reflect on your one moments that created opportunity, that created ripples in your life. One has significance. Now, I do hope you found this episode helpful, and I'd love to hear from you. And if you're on Instagram, why not send me a private message? That's the social platform I hang out the most in. So, if you have an example in your life where concentrating on one thing or one relationship led to great things, drop me a private message. Be sure to join me next week when I bring Linda Guild onto the show. Linda is an association executive with over 20 years of experience. She believes in the power of connections. Working with different associations has enabled her to learn about many industries, and I'm fascinated by each conversation that I have with her. She is bringing the knowledge of associations to her new company, Talented Alliance of Part-Time Professionals, or TAP. She believes that those who work part-time and their companies deserve to have the resources that fit the situation so that the individual feels valued. Very much concentrating on one, the individual. I love what great things Linda is doing for the part-time workforce and the companies she serves, as well as how she is growing her company. I can't wait until you meet her next week, so be sure to tune in. Until next time, have a fantastic week.